All right, let's begin with some trig applications. So let's start by remembering our trigonometry and our ratios, using that fun word SOHCAHTOA. Drop that down, SOHCAHTOA. So the sine, our sine ratio is the opposite side over the hypotenuse, so opposite over hypotenuse. Remembering that our cosine is our adjacent over hypotenuse, and our tangent is our opposite over adjacent. Okay, so whenever you're doing a problem, make sure you're labeling your O, H, and A to help you out. Okay, so let's continue and do some more practice with trigonometry. What we're going to learn about today are things called angles of elevation and angles of depression. So we use these in word problems, and you're told the angle of elevation, and you have to know which angle you are talking about. So if you take a look at this diagram, we see this balloon, this man in a balloon, and he is flying. And his eyesight is this dotted line right here that I'm drawing in green. Okay, that's where his eyes are looking. They are looking directly to the top of that mountain. If you notice, we have four angles labeled. Some of them are angles of elevation, and some of them are angles of depression. Let's start with elevation. Your angles of elevation, you can think of angles that are going up. Okay, meaning if this guy is looking at eyesight, an angle that is going up from there. So for example, angle 2 is an angle of elevation because here's his eyes looking at a flat line, and angle 2 is elevating, it's increasing, it's getting higher, it's rising up. Okay, the other angle of elevation is down here at 4 because here's a flat bottom line once again, and angle 4 is rising up from it. So that is our other angle of elevation. Angles of depression are going down. Okay, depression, thinking of a mood. If you're in a depressed mood, you're feeling bummered, you're feeling down on yourself, the Great Depression, amount of money people has going down, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, so looking at a straight line here, so if I'm looking back at this guy's eyesight line, looking at the top of the mountain, angle 3 is going down. Okay, to get to the other line that forms that angle, I have to draw an arrow down. So that's an angle of depression. It's going from a completely horizontal line downwards. Elevation is going from a horizontal line upwards. Okay, so up and down, you got to remember. My other angle of depression is 1, because once again, here's a completely horizontal line. To get to the other side of the angle, I have to draw an arrow facing down. So it's angle of depression. Okay, so think about which way your arrows are going. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pause the video real quick. I want you to try identifying angle 1 and 4. Does angle 1 represent an angle of elevation or depression, and vice versa for 4? So please pause the video, and I'm going to do the same. When you're ready, press play. Okay, now if you said that angle 1 is an angle of depression, you are correct. From the horizontal line, I had to draw an arrow going down to get to the other line that made up that angle. Angle 4 is an angle of elevation because from my horizontal line, I had to draw an angle or an arrow going up to get to the other leg of that angle. All right, now we're going to actually go ahead and do some trig problems with this. So let's change the page. Let's first look at our angle of elevation. So here's what the problem says. It says you sight a rock climber on a cliff at a 32-degree angle of elevation. Your eye level is 6 feet above the ground, and you are 1,000 feet from the base of the cliff. What's the approximate height of the rock climber from the ground? Okay, a couple things going on. The picture's already drawn for you, so that helps. So this is you. You're right here, and here's your eye level. Looking that way. That's you. Okay, so your angle of elevation, because here's my eyesight. I'm looking straight over here. This angle's going up. So my angle of elevation is 32. Now I need to find the height of the climber. What we have to be careful about, though, is that the problem tells us that our eye level is 6 feet above the ground already. So down here, I already have 6 feet of height. I'm going to use that at the end. It's not going to help me now. Okay, because right now I can use trig to find x. X is only going to represent this portion right here. And then once I get this answer, I can add the 6 in already because the problem is saying, what is the approximate height of the rock climber from the ground? Not from the top of my eyesight. Okay, because my eyesight is already 6 feet off the ground because I'm a really tall person. Okay, so we'll deal with that 6 at the end. So here we go. Trig. Here's my person. Here's my angle. I'm dealing with 1,000, which is my adjacent side, and my x, which is my opposite. So go back to your trig functions. OA, OA, tangent. So the tangent of 32, because that's the angle measure, equals the opposite, which is x, over the adjacent, which is 1,000. Multiply both sides by 1,000. I get 1,000 times tangent of 32, and I can type that into my handy-dandy calculator and get my answer. Directions do not say to round, so truncate your answer after 3 places, meaning cut it off at 3 decimals. All right, when I type that in, I get 624.869, and then I need to add in this 6 feet that deals with my eyesight. So that tells me that the climber is 630.869 feet above the ground, because I had to add in that 6 to start with. Please make sure you are putting units in your answers. You will get points taken off if you do not have units. All right, so guys, trig problems, we've done it. We're just adding in 2 new words, elevation and depression. Go ahead, pause the video and try this one on your own. You are going to have to draw a diagram first. Okay, pause the video. Alrighty, take a look. So, here's my diagram. Kyle stands 120 feet from the base of the tree. Here's my tree. It's beautiful. Kyle's over here. I forgot to draw Kyle. There he is. Okay, so he's standing 120 feet from the base of the tree, and it says that the angle of elevation from Kyle to the top of the tree is 40 degrees. Here's Kyle. The angle of elevation going up this way to the top of the tree is 40 degrees. What is the height of the tree to the nearest foot? So I used my tangent and I got it. The directions did say nearest foot, so I'm saying it's about 101 feet. So just be careful there. All right, next page. Let's talk angle of depression. Okay, an airplane pilot sights a life raft at 26-degree angle of depression. The airplane's altitude is 3 kilometers. What's the airplane's horizontal distance from the raft? So our angle of depression is 26, because here is the horizontal line. It's going down. The altitude is 3. We are finding the horizontal distance. Now, the reason we also have angle of elevation included is because if you take a look at it, the angle that's measured, marked 26 degrees, is not inside the triangle I'm looking at. Here is the triangle that I'm looking at. Okay? Here's the triangle that I'm looking at. The 26 is on the outside there, so there's 2 different ways you can handle this. Okay? This angle of depression and this angle right here are going to be the same because they are alternate interior angles, so they are congruent. What you also could have done was realize that these 2 angles together add up to 90, so I could subtract 26 from 90 and then get that this angle up here is, hold on, I'm doing math, 64. What cannot happen is the 64 and 26 cannot be flipped. Okay, so be careful. Just because I say 26 does not mean it's this angle here. It's not. It's the angle of depression, also the angle of elevation. They are the same. They are congruent. So be careful of that. So let's talk from the angle of elevation. All right, so from here, the 3 is my opposite. The x is my adjacent. So it's tangent again. So the tan of 26 equals opposite, which is 3 over x. Multiply both sides by x. To get 3 alone, I divide by the tangent of 26. So it's 3 divided by the tangent of 26. And I type that in. Doesn't tell me to round. So I get 6. Nope, just getting wrong page. Yeah, right. 6.150 kilometers. Careful of your angle of depression there. All right, last thing. Please pause the video. Try 3 on your own. Make sure that you draw a diagram first. Pause the video. All right, take a look. There's my person. The angle of depression is going down is 62 degrees here, meaning that this angle down here is 62 because they're alternate interiors. The person is 175 feet above the ground. I'm finding how far from the base of the lighthouse to the ship. So here's the ship over here. That's a ship. All right, did my math, tangent, got my answer. We are all done for the day. Bring your questions to class.